Welcome back to Razmafsar TV, and we are having Bede again from Australia. Hi, Bede, how are you?
Oh, I'm well, thank you.
Bede, we are going to discuss about, as promised, about Jahangosha-ye Naderi. It's a very, very important manual from different a book. The importance of this book is it describes all battles of Nader Shah in detail, and also, I mean, text description, but it has also, they call it paintings in Persian, they don't call it miniature because they're bigger. And according to artists who analyze, art historians in Iran, this is one of the most detailed and true depictions of the period of dressings, arms, armor. So that's what it makes this a very, very special manual to discuss. So that's what I would love to discuss that today with you.
Oh, this sounds excellent.
This is Tarikh Jahangosha-ye Naderi. Let me just mention that. So, the history of Nader's world conquest by Mirza Mehdi Astarabadi, who was his secretary. And this Tarikh Jahangosha-ye Naderi was written by him, Mirza Muhammad Mehdi Astarabadi, who was the son of Nasser, who was the secretary of Nader Shah until the death of Nader Shah in when he was assassinated, of course, in
Mm.
1747. Astarabadi wrote about the conquests and rule of Nader Shah in his book. He finished it in 1757. And one of the advantages of this book or manuscript is that it has 14 detailed illustrations. They're really huge, that depict battle scenes and other events in a realistic and detailed manner. And Adi Borumand is a very, very famous Iranian scholar. So let me just go through that. The first one, Beat, you can see these pictures, right? It's shared already,
Yeah,
right? Okay.
yeah, it's sharing well. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So it is one of them is named the Battle of Herat. Okay, translation into English. As you can see, the Iranian army is fighting against the Afghans in Herat. And let me just see is another shot. And Iranians here on this side, you see them, they're shooting with cannons, and then they are here, and then there are Afghan forces fleeing, and there's some who are being captured. Let me just go through that. Before we go ahead, I would like to point out some interesting things before we go into detail. As we see, some of Iranians here, Persian warriors here, wear male shirt with char aine, and of course, coif and a helmet. Some of them have a male shirt without charaine, but you can see how they're fastened to each other. You see that, Pete?
Yeah. Buttoned up
And
the front.
then, yes, front, exactly. And some of them don't, okay, at least, not a visible male armor. They're like, if it's an armor, let's say what we discussed, like in the Timurid was, or maybe a very thick haftan. So you see, in many paintings, let us call just paintings as Iranian scholars call them, you see that there are three types of. I mean, we're talking about the Iranians. Right? Later on, we can also talk about Afghans, how they are depicted. But the Iranian soldiers, Persian soldiers, have three types of armor: male with charaine, and then a thick kaftan, or maybe some male, beneath that, and so.
Yeah.
So these are these types. Okay, Pete. Let us discuss that, please. All floor is yours. Go ahead, please.
Okay, well, there's a number of things that are interesting. The China wearing warriors, where you can see the front of the zero, the male shirt, you can see the button. If you look at the
This one?
warrior in blue, yeah. So they were buttoned up the front. So they're not a
Yeah.
pullover shirt like other styles. Um, the thing that strikes me is it's interesting. There are things I don't. The man who's more or less in the middle in the background with
Mhm.
Charina. There's two round things on the back of his belt. I don't
Here.
know what they. Yeah, I don't know what they are.
No
Uh,
idea.
they could be pouches. They could be anything. The I'm looking at the swords. If the sword is drawn, the scabbard flips around backwards. which tends to suggest it's a very curved sword. Even if the painter is only painting them as moderately curved, that function is the sign of quite a curved sword, because the scabbard
Yes.
doesn't want to sit that way. It flips over and sits the other
Yes.
way.
Yeah, it
I've
is.
got one.
You see that we look at the curve. Look at the curve. It's
Yeah, that
quite
is actually, yeah, it's
quite
very
curved.
curved. Though some of the ones higher up aren't quite so curved. Though the more left you go in the painting, the more curved the swords look. Um, yeah, if I'm just looking at it, what we're looking at is almost identical to a modern Shamshu.
Yes.
There's not very much difference. You can see the kind of turn forward pommel. The cross guards aren't huge. Um, yeah, that's pretty much, if you went and saw even a Qajar Shamshir would be the same as this. There wouldn't
Yes,
be.
I saw many Nader Shah's Shamshir himself. Okay, it is a bigger one. It's 1,200 grams. Personal Shamshir, which I analyzed in my book, depicted. And when you go to Mashhad Museum, Naderi Museum, there are many from his era, and they are all curved like that. Yes, and
Yeah,
very heavy swords. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, this is the thing. People look at these in photographs and think these curved swords they're not very wide and they've got a pronounced curve. But what they don't see is the back. And the back
Yes.
at the base of the blade can be, like uh, 10 millimeters sometimes, 8 millimeters,
Very thick.
quite wide at the base. And so that sword isn't flexible. It's just a cutting machine. It just cuts.
Cut.
And because of its shape, it draw cuts automatically.
Yes.
Um, when they show people getting their heads cut off, as that poor gentleman in the middle
You
is,
mean
yeah,
this? Excuse me, I'm laughing. I'm laughing not because of this act of what is sad thing which is happening.
yeah.
I'm looking at the way eyes are depicted, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. The painters, as we were saying previously, that there's a degree of humor in the
Yes,
way horses and people are depicted. It's not straightforward, and the reason I think is because the paintings are meant to entertain the people that are paying for them.
yes,
The other thing, it's interesting that the man in green who's cutting that man's head off, see how he's folded his shield down out of the way?
yes,
So he was probably starting like this.
yes,
And when he came through with a big swing, he balanced himself by putting his shield
yes,
towards the back. Because when that swing starts, there's no chance that guy is going to do anything. He's got his shield up, but the blade's gone over the top edge of the shield and come down into his neck. Also, notice that the warrior in green is standing in his stirrups and leaning forward against the pommel of his saddle. And this is a kind of classic method of doing this. He's
One
completely
more
out of,
point, Pete. One
yeah,
more point I need to mention. It's in text description. As a remind, they say most shields were separate charmi, were hide shields. Some of them had separate fuladi, steel shield, and separate ahanin, iron shield. But it indicates most of them had separate charmin, hide shield. Look at the
yeah, well,
shields, how they are depicted. Hide.
yeah,
You
that's
see that?
black, the black of the same as the shield on the wall behind me.
Yes, exactly. Behind you.
Yeah,
Yes, yes,
yeah.
yes,
And these ones, just guessing. Um, it's hard. See, the shield from the handle in the center of the shield goes almost up to his elbow,
yes.
which means the shield is actually quite big.
Yes.
It
Look
looks
at
very
this speed,
small.
and this
Yeah.
manual, we will see it later, shows three sizes of shields: small,
Yep.
medium,
Yeah.
and big. Look at this one, please, Pete.
Yeah.
Look,
Exactly right. That
and
one.
look at this. Look
Yeah.
at and you see the three different sizes. We will see it later as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's surviving shields match that. I've
Exactly.
actually got three size. I've got one. Well, I've got two modern reproduction shields as decorative wall hangers, and they're in the medium size. And when you
Yes.
grip them, it does look like they've got a straight grip. In fact, it's a normal double piece grip, but it looks straight. The bigger
Yes.
one is probably like if one is this big, the other one is about that big.
Yes.
I'm sure the medium-sized shield kind of was good for many things. Didn't give as much protection as the big shield. Uh, but the small shield I really see as a close hand-to-hand fighting shield,
Yes.
because of its flexibility and the fact that it's
Yes.
really easy to carry around. These other
Yes.
shields, you wore them on your back or you hung them off your saddle.
Yes.
Later times, hanging off the saddle was common. Earlier times, you wore them on your back. By earlier, I mean 1500s, you wore them on your back because I think life got a lot nastier. You got in close real quick, so you had to have everything going. I noticed there are horse archers, um,
Here.
there are
Here.
spearmen, and there
Yes.
are swordsmen,
Yes.
and not to mention trumpeters in the back. But so that it's a mixed cavalry group. It's not just one kind. It's not all spearmen. It's not all horse
Yes.
archers. It's not all swordsmen. Though everybody's wearing a sword.
Yes.
Almost everybody's wearing a sword. I'm sorry. One of the
He has a spear.
yeah,
He
yeah,
has
he's got a
lance.
stick but no
Yeah.
sword. I'm saying the other. Oh, you can't see the other.
And
No,
here
yeah,
as well.
he's
Here
got a
as well.
spear and a sword in the front.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
man
here
in the
as well. Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. So he's got a sword as well. So I think having a sword was fairly common.
Yes.
Um, I think spearmen would carry a sword as a secondary weapon.
Yes.
Probably everybody's got daggers, but you can't see them because they're on the other side of their bodies.
Yes.
And the artists again aren't going to put that much detail in. Um, there's surviving daggers from this period. We know pretty much what they look like. You had
Yes.
Peshkabs type daggers. You had Hanjar type daggers, um, and you had card.
Cards.
I mean, is some of them have armor piercing points. They're obviously for fighting. You see paintings of people with two cards hanging from their belt. And
Yes.
I wonder if one of those is for food and one of them is for self-defense.
Yes.
Because I couldn't imagine, unless you were really desperate, using your food knife. And by food, they're not eating with the knife; they're preparing food with the knife.
Preparing.
Using a food knife to stab someone, because then you'd have to get it cleaned, and oh, what a mess. Um, uh, in some cultures, it would be ritually impure until you did something, special to
Yes.
uh, return it to normal. Not in Iran, but
Yeah.
they just wouldn't like
Yes.
to use a knife with food. So that may be why you see two knives. It may be something different. There's a special knife for cutting paper that scribes used. Maybe it's
Yes.
that. Who knows? One day we'll find out.
Look at this. Look at they have also bazoo bands, right? Not all.
A
Most do.
lot of people are wearing buzzer band, except for the least armored person there. He's not. Everybody with a visible chainmail shirt has buzzer band.
Besides one, look at this guy. Only
Oh,
one
except
doesn't.
for him. Oh yeah, and he's got a char iron and everything. You'd think
Yes,
he'd
but not bazoo bands. Yeah.
yeah. Oh well, you know, maybe he lost them in the camp. Um, it's interesting. This is the most number of buzzer bands per number of people I've seen in a painting for a while. Because
Yes.
often there's quite a few people that don't have them.
Yes.
Um, and it's interesting that you just have a look at the archer. I
Yeah.
just noticed this. He
Here.
is a right-handed archer about to shoot left-handed, and
Yes.
he is holding the bow in his right hand,
Yes.
and he's reaching behind himself to get arrows out of his quiver because it's on the other side of his body. And the only reason you're doing that is because someone is over there.
Yes.
You can't turn around far enough to shoot them.
I know who he wants to shoot at. He wants to
Yeah,
help his friend who is killing this gentleman. He thinks he needs more.
quite possibly, quite possibly. Because I can see a guy's legs going up in the air where one of the lancers is caught in the back. Yeah,
Yeah.
not a good thing. Not a good thing to get caught by a lancer. Though much worse to have your head cut off, I think. Uh,
Yeah, so this is this one. Let us just proceed from the same painting. So we talked about three types. I just put them next to each other. Fully armored with char ayne, mail armor without char ayne, And not this gentleman is without visible, at least, mail armor.
Yeah,
What could it be? Is it
it's
like a
quite
thick
possible.
gambeson?
Yeah, yeah, he could have a padded coat. I mean, earlier times they were ridged with quilting, but it's quite possible to have that on the inside and that just look like a normal coat. See, the thing about making it look like a normal coat is somebody striking at it will think they're just striking at cloth and maybe not strike hard enough.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know whether people really did that. The other, do you notice that the two people wearing male shirts both have decorative borders on the bottom of the male shirt?
Oh, that's right.
It
No, I
looks like
haven't realized
little,
that. Yeah, here. Let
little
me
gold
just.
beads or something. I mean, they probably
Yeah,
like ponchos or something, just
yeah.
riveted onto the bottom. Um,
Beautiful. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, and there are real male shirts with all of the last three rows of rings or something on the bottom have been dipped in gold so that they look like they're gold. In less expensive armors, they just use brass rings. They're not very strong, but they look pretty. So,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah, no, of course, of course. Yes, beautiful. So three types, right? That's very
yeah,
interesting. And when I first, when I was writing my book, Persian Archery and Swordsmanship, when I saw them in Iran and they showed me in a museum, the first thing I said, "Oh God, how beautiful!" They showed from the same army different types of armor.
yeah. The thing I just noticed something.
Yes,
Um I'm just looking at the no one has a nasal on their helmet. Have you noticed that?
yes, no nasal.
Yeah, I mean, in say Safavid miniatures, you can have your nasal up, and then you've taken your mail and you've hooked it over the nasal so the mail comes down like that.
Yes,
So
yes,
your face is clear because you want to breathe. I mean, mail's nowhere near as bad as full plate armor for breathing, but still, there's
yes.
problems.
That's
Um,
true.
these look like a fairly standardized type. A couple of people have like a kerchief wrapped around their helmet.
Yes.
I wouldn't call that a turban. There's not enough of it. Um, and
Yeah,
that could be,
exactly. This is also something which I really amazes me. So many people in this scene put always a turban around, but I just say, I mean,
yeah,
yeah, of
that
course.
was such a rare thing. I
Yeah,
mean, I've seen, and it was done. It's just that it wasn't common
yeah.
because it served no real purpose. It's like people who make big furry bands around helmets
Yes.
for Russians and people like that. They didn't do it because it didn't do anything for you. Um, I mean, it might have kept the rain out of your eyes or the snow out of your eyes because it's sticking out there. But the Turks solved that by putting
Yeah.
a visor on it.
Advice.
Um,
Yes.
but yeah,
Yes.
you it's see the other thing is of course when you paint the helmet it's tight fitting to the head, but in reality you've got a padded cap under that and the helmet's probably sticking out from the side of your head by at least that much,
Yes. At
which means
least.
that it doesn't smoothly. So if somebody hits you on the helmet and it slides off, it's not coming down into your face or down the edge of your face.
No.
It's probably like a couple of centimeters away from your face. When it
So
hits you in the shoulder, it's going to be nasty. And there's a vague possibility with a really strong hit that they might be able to turn the blade and bring it in. But that when they're doing that, you could be stabbing them. So maybe that
yes.
wasn't that common. Anyway, I think we can.
And now we go to Nader Shah. Just one thing for the viewers. Nader Shah, in all accounts, they talk about him. In Naderi Museum, and you can see also in my book, Arms and Armor, I depicted some of his axes. He always is described, he preferred axe, a battle axe to fight with. So he, next to his shamshi, he always had a battle axe.
Yeah.
Interestingly, his axe, which is in the Naderi Museum, is a huge one, made of patterned crucible steel. This
Mhm.
axe, which is depicted here, is a very small axe.
Well,
Look at this.
it's basically the size of a tabazin. If he was a big man, that
He
may be
was.
this.
He was.
The other
He
thing
was
is
a.
that the axe, I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of commanders carried maces to
Yes.
direct the troops with. The axe would make him stand out. It
Yes.
would be a really good thing to say, that's Nadir Shah.
In
I mean,
front of the Nader Shah Museum. Okay, this is a. I think they had it. I mean, please. I don't know when they exactly made it, so take it with a pinch of salt. I think it's from Pahlavi period. I think is a statue of him on his horse with an axe in front of the museum. So, yeah. So
Well,
here we
it's
see, yeah,
associated with him. But you've
yeah,
got to, those statues of military heroes tend to be a little bit stylized.
yes,
Uh,
exactly.
I'm talking about the West, the East, everywhere.
Yes.
It's normal. One of my
Yes.
friends, who was an expert on military sword fittings and things like that, pointed out that um, I think he said 90% of Victorian paintings of men wearing swords have the suspension wrong. And this is despite the fact that there were actually books that the army published telling you how to put all this stuff together. And but the artist didn't care because it's what looked good. And
Look
it's
at his
so
tabarzin. Look at his
yeah.
axe, his tabarzin. And he possibly, Nader Shah is wearing a padded coat, correct?
Yeah, the form of the coat is one of those coats that the the right side goes, sorry, in this case, is it the right side? Yeah, the right side goes under the left side, and it
Yes.
has like a square tab in it, so that you don't have to do the coat all the way up, and it still covers you. And
Yes.
this became extremely popular in the Qajar period as a form of coat. Um,
Yes.
he's wearing an earlier version of it.
Yeah.
Uh, he, I mean, taking into account the artist is playing with shadows and things like that, the way it bunches up under his arm and that may indicate it is padded.
Yes.
And again, it could be actually lined with mail.
Yes.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
he wears. I mean, there's somebody behind him that's also wearing almost the same color and exactly the same cut of coat, and it
This
has.
one.
Yeah, you can see it bunching up under his arms, which a
Yes.
padded coat or if you have a male shirt or coat inside a fabric coat, you usually have the padding for the male between your body and the male is built in as the lining of the coat. So it'd be three layers: the outside material, the male, and padding forming the lining and the inside face of the material. So it would tend to have, even if it wasn't, even if it was just a male coat under inside a regular coat, it would still tend to bunch up. You'd see. I'm just seeing if anybody else's clothes bunch up like that. Um, Not that much. The people on foot there who are carrying
He
what
has a
look like,
Zargnul. Please take a look
yeah,
at that. A
yeah,
Zargnul. He has a
yeah. So
Zargnul pickaxe. Look at this.
yeah,
Zargnul. And he has a Zubin or Jubin, as we say in Persian.
short javelin. Yeah,
Javelin. He has a javelin, Zubin, Jubin. And then this is Zargnul. Hammer axe. Beautiful. I told you, Beat. It is such a beautiful. We will see that. I mean, okay. I forgot to mention. This is the first part of this series on this manual. We are going to have more because there are many paintings. Beat. We will see so many weapons. It is simply unbelievable. This is a magnificent, book.
yeah. It's yeah. No, it's you notice is Nader Shah wearing a helmet that's embossed?
I don't know what it is, to be honest.
It's not his normal hat with the 4 points.
No, it's not. It's not his normal
So
hat. No.
I doubt it's a hat. I think it must be like it's got a plume on it.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it
here.
might be a gilded helmet.
Yeah, it could be a gilded helmet. Yeah, you're right. Because it can't be. No, it's not a hat. You're right.
Yeah.
It's not
So
a crown. It's not a crown.
no, but it makes him stand out. It's if you're going to make a crown that was defensive, that's probably as good as you'll get. He doesn't have an aventail on it or anything like that because
No.
he's wearing not wearing obvious armor, carrying just his axe.
Yeah,
He's saying nobody's going to get near me.
exactly.
Uh,
Yeah,
Nobody ever doubted his bravery or anything. It wasn't
yeah,
that
of course.
he didn't have to prove it all the time. But
He, yeah,
he's
of course.
sitting there directing the battle, or actually, he's probably talking to the captives,
Yes.
and he's saying, like nobody can touch me.
Let me just go back, Pete. Just let us. That, yeah, he's talking to the captives here. You see that?
Yeah,
He's talking to the captives. Exactly.
A few of the captives didn't make it because only their heads arrived.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
battle was hard. Battle was very hard.
Yeah, very hard. Exactly. And this guy with the Zarnul
Yeah,
pickaxe or hammer axe, you want to call it, he has a big shield on his back.
yeah. And he's got a short sword. It's not a
Oh,
full
yeah,
length
that's
sword.
right. Short
It
sword.
only goes down just beyond his coat.
Yeah, a
Um,
short sword. Yeah.
so it might be one of those slightly curved kadare.
Yes.
Kadare.
Gaddare. Yes, it could be Gaddare. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
It could be Gaddare.
I saw. Well, I was attempting to repair the scabbard of an antique one of those when I discovered the fact that the Persians had developed a waterproof glue and we couldn't get the old scabbard covering off. But it had a beautiful blade with a slight curve at the end,
Yeah,
full
very
of
beautiful.
armor, and
Beautiful.
it was. I mean, a seriously nice blade. It was from the Caucasus. It was signed Bala something
Mm.
in Arabic script, so probably in Persian. But oh, it was a very superior blade. It was probably mid 19th century. They were still, well, they're making good ones
Mm.
up until the 20th century.
Absolutely.
Um,
And these are fleeing Afghan troops that are fleeing, escaping.
right, so we've got a horse archer shooting backwards, which is always a good thing to see. And now we see the rest of the man who is stabbed by the spear, and unfortunately, he's stabbed in the buttocks. No wonder he
Exactly.
would explain his expression. The other thing is, notice how he's hanging onto his horse's neck, which is a
Yes.
real thing you would do. I mean, this is observational in that to that extent. You
Look
don't
at his
see.
eyes. Bid, look at his eyes.
Well, I think if someone shoved a spear up in your
Yes.
rear end, your eyes would bulge too. Oh dear.
Oh God, this
As
is really bad.
I say, they're obviously they're make it. The artist is making fun of the Afghans to some extent, but it's a real thing. He's dropped his reins. It's all the kind of stuff you'd expect to see. Um, they're wearing turbans around slightly rounded caps, which is
Yes.
traditional for that period, particularly.
Yeah.
Um, they're wearing, I would say, some are wearing boots and some aren't, because the people in the foreground on the grey horse, he's wearing boots. The man who's been stabbed in the rear is wearing boots, but the
Yeah.
horse archer and the horseman in front of him aren't wearing boots. Their trouser legs go right down to their shoes.
Yeah.
So, it may have no real significance, but you often see paintings of horsemen just wearing what we'd call slippers rather than boots. Uh, but
And
yeah,
the
very
coats have
detailed.
different colors. Look how many
Yeah,
colors.
yeah. Blue, green, purple, yellow,
Yeah.
reddy.
Mm.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
it's actually, again, there are people in the background with short swords rather than short, semi-straight swords rather than
Look at this
shamshir.
speed. Look at this one.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think in the people in the foreground, they're meant to be shamshir like or pulawar like swords, but
Yes.
they've just been drawn in by two strokes. They're not very detailed. Whereas the man with the blue coat is drawn with more detail. Now they may be meant to be something like a Khyber knife too, but with
Yeah.
the crossguard drawn in by habit rather than observation. See, this is where you've got to be really careful looking at these. Um, Even in something as well done as this, uh, you might
Mm.
kind of misunderstand some of the details. I just noticed that in the horseman in purple in front of the horse archer
Here.
also has a number of things dangling off his
Yeah, here.
belt. If he's carrying a musket over his shoulder,
Yeah,
these
he
could
is.
be for musket balls and powder.
Yeah, true.
Because
I wonder
notice,
where they are going now. Where are they riding? They're
yeah,
escaping, right?
I see some people have what looks like a musket. It's got a blank end. Other people have what looks like literal spears
Yeah.
or lances.
Yes.
So, um, the again, you're right. There's a lot of observational work in this.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, yeah, it's really quite well
And look at
done.
the prisoners now. Some
Yeah.
of them are injured. Look at his forehead or top
Oh
of the
yeah,
head.
he's yeah. The thing that oh, that soldier in the green, he's carrying
Yeah,
a musket.
yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Yes.
The man in the striped shirt, and I'm calling it a shirt because I don't think he's wearing anything underneath it, and it buttons up that side, which is like a Persian shirt would in the
Yeah.
period. But the striped material, um, I remember reading in Egypt, the Mamluks wore striped material in winter and plain white material in summer. It'd be interesting to find out whether this is a summer or winter campaign. You might notice how the stripes are going straight down, up and down in the middle of the thing and at an angle on the sides. This is how the cloth was stitched together to make it fit better. This is the where you see a lot of illustrations in modern books doing reproductions of what they thought armor's like, because they've never actually seen any of these coats. They don't realize they're not straight up and down. They come down to the waist and flare out, because
Pete,
otherwise you don't have enough room to mount your horse or do anything like that.
Pete, please
Go on.
take a look at Afghan faces, Afghan soldiers.
Mm,
Okay, here as well. Look at him. Okay, here as well. This guy. Look at the beards. And now
yeah.
look at the Persians. Either they don't have any beard, or when they do, it is really trimmed. It's not that long.
Yeah,
But look at
different style. The
yeah,
ones without beards are almost
different style.
certainly
Yeah,
like
different.
I would hesitate to say late teenage young men,
Yes,
because
that's
they
right.
were very popular because they were young, they were flexible, and they would follow orders. Uh, Ghulam, Mamluk, whatever. Um, and in a lot of translations of people who traveled there, they Europeans that have traveled to Iran, and that they talk about pages, by which they mean which
Yes,
essentially the private troops
yes,
of the Shah, or a
yes,
governor or something like that, and they would
yes,
be recruited from an age group, young men,
yes,
possibly like janissaries and people like that, um,
yes,
bought as slaves, and then trained in military arts, converted to Islam and freed when they hit
yes,
maturity. Oh, this is a good one.
yes. Now we go to another battle. This is Battle
Yeah.
of Murchehort in Persian. And in the Battle
Mm.
of Murchehort, you see that now again, we are going to see that. And this time we will go back to Nader Shah is carrying his sword. But if you come
Yeah,
here, look at the Persian army, the Iranian army. This is beautiful. Look at this Shamshir, beautifully depicted. And
exactly as they hang.
look at how
Yeah.
it curved. Beautiful. Look at this, and that's at both sides you have
Yeah,
blade.
this is really quite detailed, and
Yeah.
because the silver hasn't oxidized, you're getting the color they meant, that you
Yes.
don't see, say, in the Safavid paintings where it's turned black.
But
Um,
please take a look. Take a look at how detailed the painting is. Look at the helmets. Do you see
yeah.
to what detail? If you see it close, you will see that bead. To what
Yeah, the
kind of
other thing,
extent?
and they're
You think
different
it's metal?
styles of,
You
they're
think
not
it's
all the
metal?
same.
You
Yeah,
like?
yeah. They're using, um, well, I mean, there was a fair amount of European influence in late Safavid painting, because Persian painters said we can use that. Oh, we don't need that. It was they picked things out of European painting, because Europeans bought books of prints and things like that they gave to the Shahs as presents, and paintings, and the court painters
And
abstracted parts of the painting styles and
and
then reused them. And
take a look
it
at the
brings
take a look at Nazak helmet spike. There are also
yeah,
different types. Look,
yeah,
do you
yeah.
see how
Well, this is what I meant.
beautiful?
Some of them have like little bulb like ones, others have actual
Yeah.
spiky ones.
Yes,
Um, sometimes, well, what the man with the curved sword, he has what appears to be a like little built up where the
Built
spike
up.
comes,
Excellent.
and I mean these all survive. I like
Yes.
the tassels on the spears.
Yes, we
Um,
have also existing ones in Iranian museums, the tassels.
yeah,
And look
and
at how beautiful they are depicted.
yeah, and they're shown as strong, kind of, I would say, diamond section blades.
Beat to show
Also
the
notice,
realism, to show the
yeah,
realism of these
yeah,
paintings.
yeah.
Look at the
People,
spearhead depicted here. Compare it to a number of other miniatures, how spears are depicted,
oh yeah,
right?
yeah, they're
It's
much flatter.
unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I think it's
Even
a
the
jam.
shields are drawn so you can see the curvature, like the roundness
Yes.
of the shield.
Yes.
Not
And
the
two
not the
types, bead,
yeah.
buffalo hide, and it
Yeah.
describes in the text. The separate charmi, some of them are kargadan, rhino, and some of
Yeah.
them are buffalo. He
Buffalo.
describes, and then you see the two depictions. You see that?
Yeah.
How beautiful.
And well, we've looked at a real rhino hide shield that I have, and that one over there is a buffalo hide shield, and
Yes.
this is exactly how they look.
Yes.
The thing that gets me, and I don't know whether you've noticed this, on the spears, sometimes they have two little cords dangling down from the tassel. If you
Oh,
look at the
yes.
man,
Here.
now
Here.
that's a old thing in Persian painting. You see lots of spears going back to the 13th century with two little tassels hanging down.
Beautiful.
Um, and this must have been just a common thing that people used to do.
Beautiful.
But yeah, it shows a lot of detail.
A lot of
Um,
detail.
I think it's funny that the shine on the boot of the man with his spear raised in the front, it's like he's got very polished black boots,
Yes, you're right.
but they've left out the stirrups. And we know
Um,
he's using stirrups because he couldn't be that high on a horse without stirrups. Uh, I think you can see the heels of his boots too. I'm not sure.
Here, yeah. Yeah, you
See
can.
the
Yeah.
nails for the horseshoes in the horse's hooves.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, here you can see nails. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Magnificent.
Persian painters were very careful about painting horses because everybody liked horses. It was just a thing.
See, look at the
Um,
beautiful horse face.
yeah,
Really beautiful.
yeah.
And
They've got
here we can go and, oh, again, yes, you see that. Really
yeah.
nice.
It does look as though we've got a man just behind the man who's getting his head split open
Mhm.
on horseback shooting a musket.
Yes, here.
Which I mean, he's an Afghan, but
Yes.
and I suppose the man getting his head split open is an indication they didn't think that a turban would stop a sharp shamshir.
It did.
True.
It was a turban with magical powers, but it didn't work. Oh, it didn't
Yeah,
work.
sometimes the magic doesn't work. Uh,
Sometimes. Yes.
yeah, it's interesting. See, like some of the other, like the man with the spear before, his horse didn't have a girth shown either. Whereas the man in the front with the spear,
Yeah.
lancing, you can see the girth just
Yes.
next to his booted foot. So, and the man behind with the striped band tied around his helmet, you can also see the
Yes.
girth from the saddle. But again, you can't see any stirrups, which is odd. But
Look at
it's
this one. Look at this guy with the with the sword and shield. The guard is
yeah,
so beautiful.
looking at where his arm is, he's probably pushed his arm through the center grip of the shield and is holding the grip at the edge to
Yes.
give him more back cover.
Yes.
Um, yeah,
Beautiful.
there's a lot of detail.
A lot of detail and cannons. Cannons,
Yeah,
in my book on firearms, which I depict Persian cannons from the period, are so detailed, beautifully painted.
yeah. I think the people that paid for the book were interested in things like that.
Yes.
This is like having a graphic novel with a Lamborghini sports car in it.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Oh no, we discussed about that. Look at this one, and look a bit. Look at this guy fighting with Khanjar and Separ, and this guy is also with Khanjar and Separ. You see that?
Yeah, yeah. So and it's both sides. So
Both
the
sides. Yes.
Iranian side and the Afghan side
Yes.
are familiar with this. The man with the sword who has defeated the man with the Khanjar and Sipar, again you can see the heels on his boots.
Oh yeah. Here. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean heels go back a long way in Iran.
Yeah.
Back well to the
Oh,
late.
earlier our discussion today, we talked about Khanjars, how they, the way what they look like, and now you see curved, right?
Yeah,
Classical. Yes.
yeah. Everything about that is backs up the things that you know. What puzzles me are the the bosses around the shields. Like the four in the middle are the strap bosses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Normally, if you've got further ones around, you'd have another two, another four, or another six. But there are five around the edges on most of these shields, which
Yes.
is well, to put it mildly, an odd number. Um, and they seem to be purely decorative. They come all
Yeah.
the way through though, so there
Yes.
may have meant to be rings, and sometimes they may have been straps.
Yes.
But in this case, they just don't show them. But they definitely show the man with the sword. He, you can see the inside of his shield. You
Mm.
can see the cushion for his hand,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you don't see any straps. So
Mm.
those five bosses may have supported straps. They may have had various ways you could strap them. There may be straps there, but they may be black leather and they didn't paint them in because you wouldn't.
And another thing which I also find it in this painting, in this scene, very striking, this gentleman with Khanjan Separ is taking the Shamshir like a champ. Look at this.
Yes, yes. This
You
would be
know?
a hard thing. But bearing in mind, one of the prisoners in the first painting actually had been cut down there,
Yes,
and assuming he was wearing a turban and a padded cap, it
yes,
may have only, even in this guy's case, it may only be a flesh wound down to the bone rather than
yes,
cracking his skull open
yes,
because of the fabric.
yes. Okay, now here Nader Shah is carrying his Shamshir. Yes,
Finally, it looks like
yes,
Karbala hilt too. I'm
yes,
not set with jewels because
yes,
that's him. Um, it's interesting. Again, we'll see he's got stirrups because he's important enough that they made a lot of detail painting. His oh, that's interesting. The archer behind him is shooting left-handed. He's holding the bow in his right hand.
yes.
Um,
This guy.
yeah. Again, he's. I think that's a hat.
Ah,
It's not
yeah,
a
this is a
hat,
hat. Yeah,
but it
that's the
does
hat.
look like it, and it's the same as the other one.
Yeah,
It
it
may
is.
be a padded cap. Uh, Again, he's showing off. Nobody's going to touch me. I'm the Shah. And he's even got a halo around his head to just prove it.
Yes, he
Uh,
does.
bar what the climate is called Havana.
Yes.
Um, um, but it's really well done.
Mm.
It's interesting that his horse gear is very much like modern Turkmen and Afghan. By modern, I mean 19th century, early 20th century, like the one I have, where it's got the nose band. It's probably a snaffle bit. It's got a brow band. It's got a decorative piece across the back of the horse's head,
Mm.
which might be gilded silver with gemstones or whatever.
Mm.
So that's, I mean, it's possible the shabrak on under his saddle that you can
Mhm.
see is meant,
Mm.
it's set with pearls and large emeralds. That is possible because
Mm.
he did collect a lot of jewels in his conquests.
Yes, it's
Um,
all the time. Yes.
a lot of them are still in Iran, actually.
Yes, they are. They are. Yes. Now we go. Okay, to the next one. Oh, we discussed about that, right? Yes,
Yeah.
we discussed about that. We go to the Battle of Kirkuk, now in today's Iraq. Look at
Yeah.
this, please.
Oh yeah. Yeah. This is very detailed. Oh, now that's Nadir in the bottom right hand corner, and he's wearing his four-pointed hat in that one.
Yes, in that one, yes.
Yeah.
Please take a look at
We've
this. Take a look at these different male shirts. Again,
yeah,
okay,
again,
this is consistent. Yeah.
yeah. This is it's also interesting. The on the extreme left to me,
Mm,
the man in the bottom corner, uh,
mm.
he's holding his reins in his left hand, and he's leaned over to the left of his horse's neck to strike with his sword.
Yes. Yeah.
Which again is what people really did.
Yes.
Um, we've got a man with a shield and spear,
Yeah. Oh,
which
yeah. Here.
um,
Yes.
definitely it was done a lot. You've got a man on foot with a musket up the back,
Yeah. Yes.
plus the cannons are being fired in the background, and
Yes.
so we've got everything: swords, spears, bows, um,
Everything.
yeah, and guns.
And
Because he was
guns.
famous for having efficient musketeer battalions, wasn't he?
Pete, now
Well,
look at this. Look at what he's wearing. You can see this.
yeah,
A card, right?
that's definitely a card, but worn in the same place as you wear peshkabs.
A pishkafs. Could be also a
Yeah.
pishkafs, right? Yeah, you're right.
Well, yeah, but what I mean is that it's worn frontally, whereas usually cards are hung on the right or left
Hanger.
side vertically.
Absolutely.
But
Card is hanger.
if you're going to use it for fighting, in the front's a good place.
Yes.
Both of those figures are wearing the Naderi hat, the
Yes.
four-pointed hat. Uh,
Yes.
and one of them's wearing a Cha'ina, which is pretty well depicted there. It looks like it's inlaid and sculpted,
You
engraved.
know, it's so funny because when you look at it, when I saw that, because you've seen that in Iranian museums in arms and armor from Iran are depict from Safavid period similar types of charaina, right, with hinges. When I saw that, I said, this looks exactly like one of those Safavid period, and I saw similar ones from Naderi period. And now
Yeah.
listen, you're going to laugh about it. An art historian, Iranian, very famous. I really love his work. He's really great. No, I don't want to mention his name because I don't want to criticize him. He's very good. But in one of his, I met him, very nice gentleman, excellent person. And in one of his books, he is describing this, but he doesn't describe the weapons. He's not a weapon analyst. He describes from paintings what kind of color they use, things which I cannot judge, right? Of course, this is area. And he described the man in front of Nader Shah is reading a book to him. So when I met him, I said, "What kind of book? Where is the book?" I said, "Yeah, he's holding the book on his chest." I said,
Ah,
"This is," I said, "This is not a book. This is a char aine." And he looked at me. What is a char aine? I said, "Yeah, it's a type of armor. Char aine in Persian." I said, "Oh, I've never heard of char aine." So I said, "Yeah, this is a type of Persian. You can read everywhere char aine." And he thought he's holding a book here. Funny, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. Well, they did have very decorative book covers, but that's not a book. The other thing is interesting is he must have an armored coat on
Yes,
because he wouldn't just wear a Cha'ina by itself.
absolutely. Why would he? That's it.
Yeah, so that proves that some of those coats must have mail in them.
Yes. Then why would
It's
he?
yeah,
And now he has char aine, you're right, which proves that
mm,
should be a padded coat and with possibly mail below.
yeah,
And then underneath, and then he has bazuband.
Bazaband, yeah. Whereas the person next to him doesn't appear to have Bazaband.
No.
He doesn't have a Cha'ina. He's
Mm.
probably just wearing normal clothes. But again, he could be wearing either a padded coat or a coat with mail
And
inside.
just for our viewers, beat, let me just see where it is. And this book we will see in the second part when we talk. They show two different types of charaine. One which consists of different plates which are attached to each other by a cord. And this
Mhm.
one is the hinged one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Beautiful. This is really beautiful. Pete, we are going to see in the next session when we go and talk more about this, because I just wanted to separate it so we spend more time on details. We will see for our viewers, we are going to see more weapons, we are going to see more types of armor. This is just unbelievable. And you know, the good thing is, Pete, things we see in museums from Safavid period, right, onwards, you see in these paintings. Safavid,
Yeah.
Afsharid, you see them here in
This
this
is
painting.
why I think it's so important, if you're going to use paintings for research, go and have a look at the real stuff in museums to
Yeah,
see how close the painting is to it before you
yes,
say, oh, this painting is clearly showing that. This is why a lot of the late period Timurid paintings of what looks like laminated or lamellar armor are
yes,
actually just copies of earlier paintings, because they'd never seen armor like that, or only seen it when
yes.
Chagatai tribesmen came along with it.
B, just the last point. Here he's wearing another shamshir. You see that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful curve to it.
yes,
And it's to me it looks like it's got a Carbella type hilt. Carabella they
yes,
call it
yes.
in
Karbala, yes. And
yeah,
yeah, of course, one of the swords attributed to him has also, indeed, in Naderi Museum, has Karbala hilt.
yeah.
Absolutely. And
There's
one
one
of
thing
them, beat this
yeah.
one, excuse me, before I forget, forget to mention that. The one which was jewels on it, where was that? I don't remember. Oh, no.
Uh yeah,
Where was that? Here, right here. Exactly. You see that?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Emeralds on it. This
yes.
sword, exactly like that, is in the crown jewel in the Central Bank of Iran Museum.
I've got a book of the collection. I'll have to have a look through and have a look at it. The
Yes.
other thing I was going to say, that last painting that we looked at, the arrangement of the saddle and the short shabrak and everything like that, there were real saddles made exactly like that, collected by a Danish expedition in Lorestan
Mhm.
in the 1920s. They were still using them. And I
Mhm.
remember reading a book about saddles being used in Iran in the 1920s and 30s. And they said, oh, they're all just rebuilt Indian Army saddles that they get cheap. And all the traditional saddlers have gone out of business. And I'm wondering whether that really happened, because here the saddles the Danes collected looked as though they're about 50 years old at the time they stopped using them or they bought them or
Yes.
whatever.
Yes.
And
Yes. Yes.
maybe that's a real thing. Maybe because what it was army surplus Indian Army saddles,
Yes.
which were British military saddles, were being offloaded into places like Iran
Yes.
at you know whatever they could get for them.
Yes.
And it would be interesting to see. I
Yes.
the Iranian saddles. There are a few. If you look through old eBay things and that, you see them occasionally,
Yes.
and they're something like a Tajik or Afghan saddle, but instead of being all wood, the central part of the seat is stretched leather that's been nailed on when it was wet to provide that kind of nice scoop seat,
Yes.
so that they're actually marginally lighter than the Afghan one. So the idea is that you can ride longer distances without your horse getting tired.
Mm.
Of course, if your horse has somebody like me sitting on it, it's going to get tired anyway. But for those young men with their smooth faces and their armor, it probably didn't weigh that much compared to us. But very interesting. See that's where modern styles of painting have actually enhanced traditional art, whereas
Yes.
sometimes they just produce things that don't look right. And sometimes they produce things, and I'm not talking about in Iran, but I'm thinking of late Mughal stuff where they're fantasy pieces.
Yes. But
So
Bede,
really
no,
judge
because I wanted, especially that we look at this
Hmm.
book and these paintings. Now, can you see why Iranian art historians praise these paintings?
Oh yeah, I mean this is really interesting because again, as I said, there's mixed influences there, but it's a unified style. and it
Yes.
works. It's expressive. It's like the thing that people say about Achaemenid art. They say, oh, well, there's Egyptian influences and Greek, but it's a one thing. It's all those things have been put in the melting pot and stirred around, and they produced a singular output. Very much the same here.
Yeah.
It's, like 90% Persian and 10% outside influences.
Yes.
But
So we are
they've
going to
been,
have the second part of it, Pete. So if you agree, so
oh,
we are
yes.
going to discuss about the rest of paintings because they are very, very beautiful.
Oh, yes.
You know
Oh.
what I love about this, especially about that char aine. It's so beautifully depicted. I love
Oh,
that char aine.
incredible when you consider how a lot of things are just smooth and shadowed, and then that you could basically see the texture of the steel as
Yes,
though, oh yeah, there's engraving on that and probably gilding. And we've seen armors like that in
yes,
museums and in books and whatever. So it's
yes,
got real presence.
yes,
No,
absolutely.
wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you very much, Pete, for taking your time and hope to see you soon. Bye bye.
See you again. Bye bye.